This is really an absolute privilege and pleasure to be sitting here with Tuvia Tenenbom, who recently published the book. We have it over here. Careful, Beauties Ahead, My Year with the Ultra-Orthodox. And before we get into the contents of the book, to appreciate it, we see you here. You have yellow glasses. You don't understand your background unless we get into it first. Tell me a little bit. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like?
First of all, Aleichem Shalom.
Shalom
Thank you
Aleichem.
for coming. I'm going to shkoyach for coming. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's a pleasure to see you. Such a choshev berid. Where I come. I was born in Eretz Yisrael, in Israel. My mishpoche, we are Hasidim. The Radziner Rebbe, the Radziner Hasidim. My great-grandfather was the Radziner Rebbe. But my father, when he was young, and he studied in Lomze Yeshiva, got very close to the Chazon Ish, and they met every day, mamish, and he became what you call a Chazon Ishnik.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So the education that I got was, I learned in Tashbar, in the Cheder, I learned in Or Yisrael,
Sure.
in Petach Tikva, I learned in Beis HaTalmud, in Yerushalayim. So I was the normal Haredi Welt, and we lived on Rehov Rashbam in Bnei Brak.
That's right near the Kanievskis, no?
Exactly. So on the left is a Stipler lived.
Yeah.
In front was the Yaakov Yisrael altar. I mean the
Sure,
present
yeah.
Gerer Rebbe.
Yeah.
On the right was Chaim Kanievsky and Gedalia Nader.
Did you know them as children?
Of course. And my father and Chaim Kanievsky and Gedalia Nader are very good friends. They are like mamish good friends. I mean, they came to our home. I mean, it's like I know all this Rabbonim, all the Rabbonish shtick. I already knew as a child. My father himself was a Rosh Yeshiva, you know. So I knew all these things. I mean, this whole environment, you know.
It was organic. It was your
just
home.
organic. It was not like, okay, if somebody said, "Oh, Reb Chaim Kanievsky said," and I said, "So what?" That's Chaimke.
Yeah.
You know, for me, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Elazar Menachem Shach. So what is this? I know. Not only know, I know Meir Tzvi Bergman. I know your son-in-law too.
Yeah.
You know, was married to the daughter.
Sure.
So all of it, it's all given a mishpuche, you know. So it's a very interesting. And
Yeah.
Rehov Rashbam at the time, I don't know today how much it is. That was the place where the biggest rabbonim
For sure.
from the
It's
ultra-Orthodox
still like that,
world,
but yeah.
you know, especially the Litvische, all psak halacha, you could not get a psak halacha without clearing it in Rehov
All
Rashbam.
Jewish law came
And
through
it's
there.
like basically that was the center of the center.
And your childhood, did you, when you were growing up, was it joyful? Did you enjoy your childhood in the Haredi world?
I enjoyed it very much. I mean, you know, people who left, you know, come and tell you all kinds of stories and Baba Mises, you know, how you were abused. I was not abused. Not only was I not abused, I mean, I skipped 5 grades.
You were
you know.
Mitsuyan. You were very
I don't
good
know
at
why.
learning.
I don't know why. Maybe the thoughts that I don't know why. Maybe
you
because
out
of my
faster.
nose. I don't know. I mean, so I skipped. I mean, they treated me like a prince. They treated me like a king. I mean, it's like, you know, when I grew up, everybody on my bar mitzvah already. They tried to make me shidduchim already for 5 years from now. You know, from whatever you want. So I was treated very well. So I have only good memories.
So when did you feel like you left the community? At what point would you say that you charted your own path?
I was like about 14 and a half or something like that. I was already after Yeshiva Gdoile, I mean the kibbutz, because I
Yeah.
skipped all this. And I was what you call masmid. You know, the first one to go to the Beis Medrash and turn on the
Yeah.
lights, and the last one to leave and turn off the lights.
Sure.
And I studied a lot, of course, and at some point at 14 and a half, I started having questions about the way some interpretation, at least of the ultra-Orthodox world, about what Yiddishkeit is and what halacha is. So when I started saying Chaburas, I was very young to start saying Chaburas, I was preaching. I was saying something against my Rabbonim, you know, because for me, okay, I can say whatever I want, you know. The prince.
Yeah, you were born into it. You were royalty.
And then I had arguments with my Magid Shur, my Rabbonim, Rosh Yeshivas. You know, it's like, because they said this is not allowed. I say, okay, I can show you that this is allowed. They say you cannot do this and you cannot do that. I said, no, you can. You know, and I brought books like this and I put it in. And then the normal answer from every Magid Shur or Rosh Yeshiva was like, what do you think? Rav Shach doesn't know it? And I says, who is Rav Shach?
Because you grew up in the...
I mean, this is like, it's part of the mishpuch.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you say, your uncle said it. My uncle, so my uncle, I love my uncle, but so what if my uncle said it?
Yeah.
So I found myself soon out of there. I went to...
So pause, when you left, was that hard for your parents and for your...
Of course it was hard for my parents, you know, of course, but they lived with it. And my father was the kind of Haredi, was emesdik Haredi, afilu, you can say, anti-Zionist. But he had relationship with everybody. He didn't agree with the derech, for example, but this does not mean anything. I mean, if you know the Maklev family, you know?
Sure.
I mean, my father is the one who takes the Maklev family and put them in the Haredi world. To this day, Uri Maklev, the Knesset members, from time to time, he sends me, what your father did to us, otherwise we would never be here. You know, so, but at the same time, he was in touch with everybody.
When you left,
for example, not only Gdani Nadler came to our home, also Moshe Tzvineria came to our home. You know, Rosh Yeshivot Bnei Akiva.
It wasn't as tight. It wasn't as rigid back then. No.
I remember when I was a kid, and you know, I grew up in Tashbar, you know, and I said to Moshe Tzvineria, Tzioni, 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 Tzioni. And he said to me, come here, Tuvia, sit here. And I sat on his lap, and he said to me, Tuvia, I look at your eyes. I promise you, you will not end up Haredi. So much Tzvineria.
He knew.
The Rosh Yeshivot Bnei Akiva, you know. So my father said, okay, if he doesn't go with these yeshivas, go to another yeshiva, different. So he knew Tzvi the cook.
Yeah.
So I found myself in Merkaz Arav, and I studied in Merkaz Arav. But for me, Merkaz Arav, the way you study the Talmud, the way you study the Gemara, was no geschmack.
Didn't have the flavor.
This didn't have the flavor. This didn't have the, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, you should nick the so doch him. Yeah. That's how you study. And then I should nick it, but so doch him. Oh, you born Shleilam. That's serious. It's like it's no geschmack, no nothing. And they don't understand Rashimen's Kop, Hefza, Gavre. It's like totally nothing. So
it didn't take.
It didn't take. It looked like just somebody reading some law book, you know.
Yeah. But when you left was it like, you know, now, if somebody from a Rabbanish family, they leave, it's a whole sensation, everybody's talking, was it like that back then, or it was a little bit more fluid?
Look, there was no, look, after that I went to Esder Yeshiva. And in Esder I also served in the army.
Yeah.
And the first Shabbos first time I came, and I was with my green
the uniform.
You have no idea how many telephone calls my father got to tell him that we spotted Tuvia with green clothes.
With green?
You know, so, you know, it was different times, it was different days, you know, it was alles.
But it doesn't sound like it was as separate back then. Like when you came back in uniform with your parents, they were okay with you.
Yeah.
They were okay with you, your mother, father.
Yeah, they're okay. I mean, they wished I didn't do it, but... And then when I finished the army, I wanted to go to university. That's where I got the problem. My mother was a Holocaust survivor.
Yeah.
She was in the camps. When she heard that I'm going to university, that's already a busha.
That was too much.
That's already a shame to the family. How can you do that? How can my son, our son, do this thing and go to university? So...
Did that hurt you?
I understood it. I said, I understand. I grew up in this community. I know how it works. I know what you say. I know what you think. What, am I going to fight her? I mean, she's still in her brain, she's still seeing Hitler coming for the second time.
Yeah.
So I hopped on a plane and I came to America to study here. And then for the next 15 years, I studied different disciplines in various New York universities.
Yeah.
You know, but I understood it.
Did you stay in touch with your family
I
and
always
parents?
stayed in touch with my family. I always. An example from my father. You know,
Yeah.
I'm talking about Haredi. He said to me, for years, every morning or you woke up in the morning, I said, Rebbeinu Shloilom, God in heaven, please make my son Tuvia the best Rosh Hashiva, the best rabbi.
Yeah.
But you have chosen something else. You have chosen to be a machzai, a playwright.
Yeah.
And from that day, every day I wake up in the morning, I say, Rebbeinu Shloilom,
Make him.
Master of the universe, please make my son Tuvia the best playwright in the world.
Your father told you that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. It's a different kind of Haredi. I mean, it's like the emsdike Haredi.
It's a confident Haredi.
It's a confident Haredi. He's not afraid of anything. He's not afraid of the
Secure.
world. Not afraid. So, when I was 7 years old, I studied Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And it's like my father knew I was doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's okay for him, because he believed in the way. He was not afraid. Okay, my son will be boo boo boo.
So then it's going to make it feel, for a lot of people, when someone goes off, it feels like it's a referendum on their Yiddishkeit.
Yeah.
That if you don't think it's real, then it's going to be harder for me to think it's real.
No, the main thing is, like, just the way I saw, the main thing, the fear in the Haredi world, especially in the old days, it's also in these days, is if you go to university, if you go to the army, if you study, you'll leave the yeshiva. You'll leave the yeshiva, you'll become a koifer.
A heretic.
A heretic. And I say to them, no, wait a second. You kept saying that we are the luckiest people on earth because we study the Torah. You kept saying that we are the most fortunate people, that we have the best. If you really believe it, why are you so afraid that people will move out of the way or leave the way? Have you seen a prince that his father, the king, would say to him, don't meet the poor people, because of fear that the prince would like to be poor also?
It's not a concern.
It's not a concern. I mean, it's about the best to be a prince. So if you believe you have the right way, if you believe you are fortunate and lucky to have Yiddishkeit and study the Torah, and there is nothing better than this and such a pleasure, so why are you afraid that your children will go somewhere else? What are you so afraid? You have the best.
What's so interesting...
That's what you say. You say you have the best, so enjoy it. Have no fear. And that's, I call it Chesoron be'emunah. It's the people who are so afraid of their children, you know, moving out of the way or whatever it is, because they have no faith. Their faith is not strong enough. If your faith is strong,
you know you're a prince, you know you have royalty.
And you enjoy it, you enjoy to be Haredi, you enjoy to study
Right.
Talmud, you enjoy to go to shul. You are not afraid that your children will not follow you. But if you don't believe, and if you do it only because it just happens that you grow up in the Haredi world, and you have to do it for business or whatever it is, and you think it's all stinkt, alles, you know, and you don't believe, not in God, forget in the Talmud, you know.
That it's narishkeit or whatever. Then every time you see your kid, it's a reminder.
So you're afraid if my kid sees in another part of the world that don't study the Talmud all day long, you'll go there. Of course you think like that, because you are not a believer, you know, but you didn't have the guts to live, as in you're afraid that your kids will believe and then it will reflect on you. But if you really believe, if you really have emunah, you have no fear.
What's interesting to me is that there's a genre of literature now. It's really like a genre. It's called the OTD memoir. The OTD memoir. OTD is an acronym for Off the Derech. And there are these memoirs of people who leave the community. They're different. I'm not saying they're all the same. But the narrative structure is you grew up, it was oppressive, it was awful, it was terrible. And you
so in order to write this book, my wife and I, Izzy, we lived in Mea Shearim. That was our base.
Yeah.
For over a year and a half.
I want to get to that. Yeah. Tell me.
And before we came there, when I said I got an assignment, from the publisher to write a book about the ultra-Orthodox. So I said, how can I write a book about them? I have to live with them. Where am I going to live? The most authentic, the most Mea Shearim. So I started calling people and asking them if they can find me a place in Mea Shearim. Everyone, some in Haredim outside of the community, of Mea Shearim, told me, Tuvia, don't do that, don't make that mistake. If you live in Mea Shearim, the first evening, people will stand outside your window, outside where you live, and throw stones at you.
Protesting.
And protest to you. Koi vergerois. That's what everybody said. And I said, I'm a journalist. If this is what they do, I will live with it. Okay? I have glasses, Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
It will not reach my eyes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it. And I came there, we lived there for so long. We are amazingly embraced by the community. And by the way, and as I learned through the times, many of them, and I guess over half of percent, over 50%, read my books, the previous books. Because you would quote me. Tuvia, wo hast du es geschrieben? In Voices Hayudi. Was heißt du dort? It's like they give me the omud, the daf, what page, what line, and they quote my... And so they know I'm not Haredi, they know I'm not even religious. They know I put a yarmulke for them. They know I go with a white shirt and dark pants as a respect for them. And they're okay with me not being Haredi or not being religious.
Because they had that emunah, they had that confidence.
Yes, they had the confidence. They're not afraid of anything.
So tell me, you had this idea to write this book, and you were in Israel.
No, it was not my idea. It was the idea of my editor in Germany. It was not even my idea. I really like it when the editors tell me
what to do.
The only thing is to say, can you write a book about Britain? Can you write a book about this? Can you write a book about America? Can you write a book about Israel and the Palestinians? Yeah. Can you write a book about that? And this was, can you write a book about the Haredim? They don't tell me anything else. We agree on a deadline. The deadline comes, I have to give them. But I like it because it makes me feel like I don't have an axe to grind. I didn't do it because subjectively I want to find something in support or against a certain community or a certain country or whatever it is. So it was their idea.
But it's almost surprising to me that it took so long for somebody who grew up in Tashbar, you grew up in Bnei Brak, and it took so long for you to almost return to your Haredi roots, so to speak, and examine the community. Why do you think it took you so long? Because you are a playwright, you're looking for narratives.
Because it was not, I mean, I did write a play, I really did write, to see this one over there?
Yeah.
This is for the set design, for a show called 100 Gates. I did write a show.
Yeah.
You have in the back of you 100 Gates. I did write a show about the Haredi world, about the Rabarlach actually.
Yeah.
So I did that. But again, for the books, it's the same thing. I mean, it's like, it was not my idea. It's my editor. I've already published with them 5 books, and they offered me this book also. It was their idea. If they asked it 10 years earlier, it would have been 10 years earlier. Mm-hmm. That's the way it worked. It's not like I came with the idea to write about the Haredim. I did not.
So tell me...
Because this is fiction, play is fiction.
Yeah.
But a book is a non-fiction. You have to mamish live with the community all the time. So for me, I've been to Israel, I've been to Mea Shearim, but only to eat a chant or something. Usually it's like Rehov Yafo, till Rehov Anviim, when you go down, it's Mea Shearim, or all this thing. That was off the road.
Yeah.
I hardly ever been there. Even though I was in Yerushalayim, for God knows how many times. But all of a sudden, after not being there, I am there for...
Did it take you a long time to remind yourself of all the cultural, the way the sprach, the way they speak, and
the way I said to myself is this. Of course I have prejudice. I left the community. So if I left the community subjectively, and I come to write about them, I would have to justify why I left. So of course it's going to be negative. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But what I do in my practice, every time I go to a place as a journalist or as an author, using my theatrical know-how, I put everything to zero, meaning everything I remembered about that is gone.
Come in fresh.
I start fresh. And I ask for I wait for the people to teach me everything. even how to hold the siddur. Of course I know how to hold the siddur.
Yeah.
I'm sugar. It's like,
yeah.
you know, everything. Teach me.
Teach me.
Teach
to
me.
see the way.
To see the way they do it. And then it ended up to be a book that is, how to put it, it's most pro-Haredim, positive about Haredim than any book I know has been written about the Haredim world outside of the Haredi world.
It was very moving to me to read because, again, because of this genre of literature, usually when you leave a community and then you return to it, exactly like you said, the whole book is a justification of why I left, why it's so bad, why it's so backward, why it's so narrow-minded. And every single page like drips with like a real Avos Yisrael, a love of this community. And it's a community that generally, especially when enlightened people, you know, you're an enlightened person, or you're college educated, I have a PhD, we're smart Jews. And you look and it instinctively, it's so backwards, it's so small. But you didn't fall into that at all. It's like loving. You see the nostalgia.
I love them. I love them.
But let's start from the...
I enjoyed it. I mean, remember, when you talk about Jewish humor, where do you have it today, Jewish humor?
This is
you have it in the Upper East Side, where there are many Jews living. You have Jewish humor. It's like, it's not a funny place here. You know, where they have... Even the state of Israel was born and was created.
Yeah.
I think they killed one thing, the Jewish humor. It's a great blessing to establish the state, but with that establishment of the state, the Jewish humor is gone. But it is still in the Haredi, especially Hasidic world. It's still there. And it's like, I will not forget it. I mean, it's like every day from the time I walked out of my room till I came back in the evening, I was laughing. I spend my time with the Haredim and I'm laughing. I'm enjoying my time.
Tell me some of the times that got you to laugh, because I love this.
It's just like everything they make me laugh. I mean, it's like amazing. I think it was, even in the first day, you know, I came there from Germany. So in Germany, we usually stay in Berlin, in a neighborhood called Prenzlauer Berg. And that neighborhood, there's a lot of cafes. So in the morning I go, have a coffee or omelette, whatever it is. And many of those establishments do not accept credit card, only cash.
Sure.
So here I am in Mea Shearim. I just arrived last night, you know, like the night before. And I got to eat something. And I sit down and I eat, and then I ask, excuse me, do you accept credit cards? And the answer is, well, it depends. And I'm just like, depends on what? If it goes through, we accept it. If it doesn't go through, we don't accept it.
It's the best.
Who is going to give you an answer like this? Who is going to do that?
But let me ask you, why do you think...
I say, you charge too much here.
Yeah.
I said, you know, euch Menschen told people, charge high prices. I say, but you are not tall, you're smaller than me. I feel tall. They always have a teretz, they always have a chakka, they always have something, you know, it's like...
A knetch.
A knetch.
But for real...
You go on the street, you see two Haredim, you know, they try to give you to raise money for whatever it is. I say, I'm sorry, I'd love to give it to you, but I can't, ich habe nicht Geld mehr.
Yeah, I don't have any money.
I don't have money on me. I say, no problem. No problem. You take a machine, put your credit card in. And then you decide if every week, every month. It's like you have a credit card reader. On the street, you go on the street with a credit card reader. That's how you collect snore today. That's how you go, give me money. So you don't have, I've got a problem with the cash. I give you. I mean, it's like, have you seen it? I mean, it's like, where have you seen this kind of thing?
And there's a self-awareness of the humor.
Yeah, it's funny. And I started laughing. And they saw me laughing, they started laughing because they realized how stupid it is. I mean, it's like ridiculous it is. They forgot about the guilt. They said, we had such a good time with you, forget it. You don't have to give any contribution. I mean, it's like, it's a different world. It's an amazingly funny and humor-wise, you know.
Yeah.
And it's also the achnos hasochem, the hospitality that they have is amazing. Amazing. They
welcomed you in. You even had interviews, and I want to come back to like what's underlying all this. But you had interviews with actual admorim, with Hasidic rebbes.
Yeah, I mean this was amazing. I mean, it's like because everybody I asked them Haredi journalists, you know, from the sites, you know, from different sides. I said, how do I get to make an interview there? I want to interview a Rebbe. And the answer was, from all of them, forget it. We have tried it for 2 decades. It doesn't work. Rebbes don't give interview. But by the end of the day, Rebbes gave me interviews.
Why do you think they gave you an interview?
We got along. They saw me. I'm going to Shem Remonim, in the small Hasidus,
Yeah.
So the guy sees me. I sit with them. I stay for Shachis for 5 hours. I mean, it's like, who is staying for Shachis if it's not a Shem Remonim, for 5 hours? So they remember me. They invite to their homes. Vistikim and Shabbos.
Yeah.
But they're not Chabadskers. They're not trying to convince you of anything.
There's no proselytizing.
There's nothing. No missionarizing. Gar nicht mit nicht.
Why do you think not?
And so,
why do you think
the Karliner Rebbe.
Yeah.
I go to the Karliner Rebbe. I just walk into the Karliner Rebbe. And he says, Tuvia, Tuvia. Now you live in Mea Shearim. And I said, wait a second, Rebbe. How do you know? And the Karliner says to me, if you want to think that I have connected with heaven and I know everything about you, you're welcome to think so. But what do you think? I didn't read your books. What do you think? I didn't read the articles about you. What do you think? Don't be so humble to me. That's it. And not only that, at some point the Gabbai comes in, because a lot of people are waiting to get broches, to get the kvitli and all these things. And the Rebbe says to the Gabbai, because the Gabbai says,
no.
A lot of people, and the Rebbe says, no, I have a good time, forget it. It's like, I'm staying here. So, yeah, I mean, the Toldo Saran also, okay, I came a few times. They knew me. And also I knew a guy that I met one day. He was driving his car up David. And he's one of the Nadvonim of Tormim for the donors for the Rabbi the Toldo Saran. And he made a connection to Shisha, Misha, Ichmes was, so then I connected with him, and then I came and I had an interview with the Rebbe. It was very, very interesting. It was highly, highly interesting. You're talking about one of the most extreme of the extreme. The one with the golden, with the zebras, as they call it. And you were like amazing,
What were you trying to find out in those interviews?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I live with the Haredim, and the Hasidim, even not the Hasidim today, also the Litvakes, they believe in kvittel. You go to the Rebbe, you give him a kvittel, it's a small piece of paper, you write the name of your name, and Ben, and who's and mother. And that you give to the Rebbe, and according to them, the Rebbe reads it, and he knows exactly, he connects with events, and he knows everything about you, and he'll give you the best advice, whatever it is. If it's money, if it's marriage life, if it's health issues, he knows everything because he reads, he connects. That's what people come, Hasidim come from New York, from Manchester, whatever it is. They fly to Israel before Rosh Hashanah, they pay thousands of dollars, just to be able to go to the Rebbe and give him a kvittel.
Yeah.
And you give the Rebbe a kvittel, also it's a source of income for the Rebbes, because everybody gives money, especially the Gvirim.
You slip a couple dollars there.
Yeah.
More than a couple.
It depends who you are. And so I go to the Rebbes, and I do what a journalist does. I have a kvittel, my name, my mother's name, and I give it to the Rebbe.
Okay,
the Rebbe. And the Rebbe opens the kvittel. And I ask the Rebbe, no? What do you say? I'm curious.
Yeah.
What do you read? And the Rebbe says, I read your name. And I said, obviously, but what do
else?
You see in there? Gar nicht. Nothing else. What? People spend so much money, people are standing in lines for traveling, the seas and oceans, to go to the Rebbe and give you a kvittel, and you tell me you don't see anything? He says, no, I don't. They believe it. What can I do? But I don't see. What can I see? Maybe sometimes in the past some rabbis could see. I cannot see. Ich sei nicht. Dein Name,
Yeah.
this is your name, and that's what I have.
Yeah.
So that the Rebbe would have the audacity or the courage to admit something like that. That basically cuts into his source of income. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing to me. You know, Rebbe after Rebbe,
There's an honesty.
there was honesty in the Rebbes, you know. And I asked this Kanoi Shebakanoim, this fanatic of the fanatics, I asked him, tell me, if a Chiloini, a Zionist, a Zioini, would come to your shul, come to the Moisdes, you know, come to the, how would you treat him? And his answer was, if he came to fight me, what can I do? Was kann ich machen? But if he did not come to fight me, was a kashe?
There's no question.
What is the question? Wir seien alle Jeden. We are all Jews. And I say to myself, especially now, on the Sinat Chinam in Israel, you know, this amazing bitter hatred between one another, brother and sister, for all across the political spectrum. No one said to me what this fanatic of the fanatics, you know, said. Wir seien alle Jeden. We are all Jews. What a question is this?
And you really saw that communally in the way that you were.
Yes, the way they accepted me, the way everything. It was amazing.
Why do you think, you know, you have been out in, you know, enlightened, in the metropolis, in cities, you've lived in Germany, you've been to university, and they're so, you know, in an enlightened community, you would think they're the most open-minded and they're the most welcoming. But very often you go in more liberal circles and you could sometimes hear the nastiest things about religious Jews, about Haredim. It's like it's like a hatred. They really don't.
It's amazing hatred.
I
mean, while I was there, there was
but
an
in the
article.
Haredi world, they don't spend time.
So when I was there was an article in Haaretz.
Yeah.
Arle wrote it. He used to be Haredi. And in it says that everyone in Mea Shearim, the wider Mea Shearim, we talk about tens of thousands of people, every child, there is not one child, basically, it says, that did not go to sexual harassment. Not one child. So they portray basically a community of tens of thousands of people as a bunch of pedophiles. All of them are pedophiles. Now I said to myself, in America, if somebody, a journalist of the New York Times, of the Wall Street Journal, came up with a piece that's saying that everybody in Harlem is a pedophile, would the paper publish it? Of course not. Not only they wouldn't publish the thing, the journalist who wrote it would be fired.
For sure.
You know, this is not journalism, this is racism, this is pure garbage. You have no room with us.
Yeah.
And here we have one of the most respected, prestigious Israeli paper, Haaretz. Somebody writes it. Not only that you don't throw them out, you actually publish it.
Why do you think that that's acceptable?
It's hatred.
But where does it come from? It gets to the heart of what the Haredi community, especially in Mea Shearim, what it represents. Like, what do you think it represents in the minds of the secular Jewish community?
I mean, there are many reasons for this. First of all, you have to remember that the split between the Haredi and the non-Haredi is old.
Yes.
Age old. You also have to understand the whole idea of Haredim is only a few hundred years.
Yeah.
Before that, we didn't have Haredim. It didn't exist, the word Haredim, you know. But we have the Haredim, and the establishment of the state, when Herzl and all these things, when you're thinking about the Haredische Welt, was afraid of going to Israel.
For sure.
Again, why? Because I think because he didn't believe enough. They didn't have faith enough. They thought if they go to Israel, nobody would be religious anymore. You know, so that was the first split. My own grandfather, he was a rabbi in Markulesht. which is Romania. I was Romania, now it's Moldova. Marculescu was
He was the Radziner?
no, that's from my mother's side.
Okay.
Marculescu was only Jews.
Yeah.
It's a place funded by Jews. When the Haganah, the Jewish agency, during the wartime, said to him, the Romanian fascists and the Nazis are coming, but we can save you, and we can save your community. We can bring you to Israel, Palestine, whatever. And my grandfather said, I prefer the Nazis over the Zionists.
Really?
That's what he said. And when the people come, the Romanian fascists came to the gates of town, he welcomed them with chale and salt, the way in ancient times you welcome. They shot him in the head.
They killed him.
They killed him, point blank. They
He came out with challahs to welcome them.
To welcome them. And they went to the family, to the house. They took the children who were still there, because not all the children were in Marculescu at that time. The children that were there, and the mother, they brought them a few steps away. There is a river there. They took child by child, they threw to the river in front of my grandma. So she suffers seeing all the children.
Yeah.
That's 7 children, put them down, and then got rid of her too. After the war, my mother was in a concentration camp, and after the war, the Jewish agency took her from there and brought her to Israel. And I asked my mother, first of all, she didn't tell me anything about what happened in Marculescu, nothing. But I asked her, how did you come from Europe to Israel? Who brought you? She said, Hashem. I said, thank you. Who are the people who actually took you or gave you the papers, the certificate, whatever it is, the visas, I don't know what, to take you from Europe? Who paid for this?
Yeah.
Hashem. How did it work?
Hashem.
Hashem can do everything.
God. And for her, it was always...
She did not see the Zionists. So you're talking about this kind of atmosphere between the Haredi world. This is not in the Sephardic world, it's in the Ashkenazi world.
Sure.
That was an amazing split in the community. So the hatred was already there. On the other side, Eliezer ben Yehuda, the inventor of modern Hebrew. I mean, the story goes about him that on Yom Kippur, he would walk with his dog, and he dressed the dog with a tzitzis, with a talis. No, a small talis, especially for the dog. Walks to get the sinah between them, the fight between them was like normal European style.
Yeah.
That was Europe. You know, every country in Europe fought another country.
Everybody,
it's ideologicals, and it was normal to fight each other, to throw stones at each other. It was part of the culture.
Because they really believed in it.
They really believe in this. You know, both sides believe in it, and they believe in it very much. So that's what happened. So that war continued, and this is the fruit that we see now.
But do you see? Have you noticed any change? I mean, especially you were in Israel post October 7th.
Yeah.
You didn't plan. Obviously, you didn't know October 7th is happening. So you find out the news. Where are you? You're in Mea Shearim.
Mea Shearim.
And you're in Simchas Torah. You're doing.
Yeah. So we wait for this day. I mean, it's like we waited very much for this day because we remember for the year before.
Yeah.
This is the happiest day on the Jewish calendar in Mea Shearim. You know, it's like this and Purim. You know.
Yeah.
So. And you do a coffees and everybody is dancing, the ganze Spiel, you know. So, of course, you are waiting, and then around 6:37, I don't remember, something like that, in the morning, we heard sirens and we heard booms. So, in a normal community, what do you do when it happens? You go to the shelter. You immediately run to the shelter. But you're talking Mea Shearim. And Mea Shearim, what do you do? The sirens opens up and the bombs are flying above. You go out to look at this, to watch it, to examine this, to see that it really exists. And of
all
course,
the kids are on the
everybody, it's
porches.
like, and me also, of course, the first thing I go out. I don't go to the shelter, I go out. Let me see there, it's going to be, Iron Dome, puck, puck. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm as meshuga as they are, you see. Like, and we go out and they look at me. They cannot listen to the news because it's Shabbos, it's Yom Tov. It's Simchat Torah and it's Shabbat.
Sure.
No electronic equipment. But they look at me like, Nee, devised, Ich weiß nicht, euch nicht. I slept. So I go back to my room and I watch the places that I understand where I'll see the MSD, which is Al Jazeera in Arabic, not in English.
That's where to find
Al
the real
Jazeera
stuff.
in Arabic.
What's really happening.
That's really happening because you are pro-Hamas.
Yeah.
And then you look at the channels, Hamas channel on Telegram, and you see the pictures. Some of them you have seen probably, some of them you have never seen. The torture as they killed and slaughtered Jews. It's frightening. What I see is frightening. And Algeria is very proud of it. I mean, the glory of it's crank. And I go outside and I tell them what I saw. That's what's happening.
How did
there is a war, and this is what they did to the Jews in the south of Israel. Now they know that the south of Israel, over there, the kibbutzim, the moshavim, the old places over there, they are left, very left. Pro-Palestine.
Yeah.
Not religious at all.
Yeah.
But what was the first reaction that they gave me when I told them what happened? He said, they, meaning Hamas, are doing to us what the Nazis did to our grandparents.
They saw it in history.
They saw it in history. They are doing to us, meaning also the leftists, wir sind alle Juden. We are all Jews. And when Yom Tov was over and Shabbat was over, they went with loudspeakers on the street. Avinu shebashamayim rachem aleinu. Our Father in heaven, have mercy on us. And they called everybody to come and pray for the hostages to be released, for the sick to be cured, for the dead to come for the families. And they know there are no Haredim over there, no religious people over there. But as the Rebbe said, wir sind alle Eden. So you see something that the world does not know about the Haredi world. We have been bred, to hate them. We have been taught over and over by different books, by different articles, by different TV programs, alle Meshigassen. We have been told how bad they are. Movies, Netflix, it's like unorthodox. Everything they are basically, it's so anti-Semitic, this whole thing about the Haredim.
Like if we just got rid of them, then everybody would get along. Then everything would be solved.
Everything would be solved, of course.
Everything would be solved.
So, but when you live with the people and all of a sudden you find that it's not exactly that. Yes, there are demonstrations there. Yes, sometimes it's violent. But guess what? Almost everybody in the community is against them, and I know already the troublemaker. After living so long there, I know already the trouble. I can see somebody walking up the road. I know, so in 15 minutes there's going to be another demonstration. The Michigan is bored today.
And the mainstream people don't like it.
And who comes? You have Mea Shearim over there with 8,000 students, most of them from America.
Yeah.
They need a show for free.
Yeah.
They come to the shows. It's like, so always mirror. You see people from here. They are not the demonstrators, but it looks like they're there because they are dressed the same. And sometimes you see in Mea Shearim, which is never reported, you see groups of people, Haredim, who fight the other ones, those who made the troublemaker. Sometimes it's a fist fight. You see two groups of Haredim fighting.
Why don't they? What's their issue with the troublemakers? Ideologically, they're probably not so far off. Why don't they like the demonstrations, the ones who are against it? Because we never hear from...
They say it's Chilul Hashem. What is this? What are we doing? For what? We just make more and more people hate us. For what?
And they have that self-awareness.
Against the Agad buses, the public transportation. How would they go if not public transportation? How would the Haredim go And not everybody can afford a taxi.
So we only hear from the 20, 30
Exactly.
people who are lying down.
Yeah, exactly.
And the rest are just like,
The rest
enough
is
already.
yeah, enough. Yeah. So many people say, schon genug.
You spent a year and a half in the Haredi community. It's a community that it's kind of a miracle that it still survives like this, because there's so much modernity in the world. You have the internet, smartphones, this, that. What do you think the perpetuation and the continued existence of the Haredi community contributes to the state of Israel?
So your question is what they contribute to the state of Israel?
Meaning, a lot of people say we'd be better off if we had no Haredim and they all matriculated, we all became religious. What do you think the culture contributes?
First of all, the Jewish humor would go. This is for me extremely important, more than anything.
Why is it so important to you?
Because this is life. There is so much wisdom in this humor. There is so much life in it.
Tell me more. Where's the wisdom? I mean, you're speaking to somebody. I'm obsessed with humor.
Yeah.
I love Jewish humor, and I love the way that it weaves into everyday conversation.
They can see things, 10 steps ahead, because you see it in humor. There are a lot of things, that logically we cannot explain. There's no way, philosophically, whatever it is, it's infinity. You cannot explain it. There is a place, one depth cannot explain anything. No matter what a great philosopher you are, or a great theologian you are, or a great mathematician you are, there are things you cannot explain. The only way you can explain it is through a joke. Because it's what is not said.
Exactly.
That is the idea. It's not the idea what is said, it is what's not said. True humor, I'm in theater also. The height of tragedy is comedy. It's the most difficult thing to compose, most difficult, and it has the deepest thing in it, the deepest thoughts. Because there is something, it wakens up something in your brain to see the things differently. You cannot explain it.
See what's unsaid. The things
It's
that
unsaid.
can never be said,
Can
the
never be
ineffable.
said. Can never be said. It's like, there's no way I to explain. But your brain catches it.
And why do you think
humor.
the Haredi community in your
It's a
mind
culture.
is attuned to that?
It's a culture. It's a culture. It comes from Eastern Europe, I guess. It comes from Eastern Europe. There are a lot of funny things in the Talmud. It depends how you
We know about
study
that,
the Talmud.
sure.
It's like, I can give you thousands of examples. It's funny. There are a lot of things that in Judaism are very,
But
very
in the
funny.
contemporary community, I'm trying to get to the heart of it, because
Look, these are people are laughing all the time. In a very simple way. It shouldn't be like that, but this is what it is now. And it's been like this forever. Jewish literature, the 2,000 or 3,000 or whatever year old Jewish literature, which is the Bible, the Talmud, the Poskim, whatever, the ganze Meise, the Midrashim, nobody can read them except for the Haredim. And even there are very few. But there at least have places they honor those books. Everyone is a Shas. Not everyone. So they are the ones who still preserve it. Because the rest of the Israelis know nothing when it comes to Yiddishkeit. You are in the land of the Jews.
how do you...
Of the land of your forefathers. You call it Israel. This is the history of the Bible is written there. All of Yiddishkeit is about Israel. So... And they are the ones who still preserve it. So if any time in your life you want to understand the Talmud or the sources of Jewish literature, go to a yeshiva, spend there a few days, and you'll taste it. Because if you don't go to yeshiva, you'll not taste it.
I can't tell if it's because of your most recent book or if it's your personality, but you have a Hamishkeit, that the sprach, the tone, the cadence of your voice, that has this very homey, cozy feeling, which I think is the whole idea of humor, is like that shared language, like an inside joke, which is why the Haredi community is able to really perpetuate humor. Yeshiva guys are always the funniest because they have a shared language. It's not like just a universal
But it's not a shared
joke.
language. It's like Okay, I'm going to Ponevezh.
Yeah.
In my time, when I was Haredi, if somebody dressed like me would go to Ponevezh, in less than 3 seconds, somebody would come and say, "Sir, thank you for coming, but probably
you're in the wrong
you
spot.
are in the wrong place."
Yeah.
I'll show. I came there, I sit, and ich setz sich. And nobody says anything. I look at people, bim, time passes, then the Chavruse next to me, I say, "Excuse me, slicha, is this Ponevezh here?" That's like, and the ganze Pokalat, I just came from heaven. Yes, Ken, the Ponevezh. And then it's like, they're like, "Why is the guy sitting here and asking Ponevezh? מאיפה אתה? Where are you from?"
Yeah.
I say, "מפה, משם." From here and from Dortmund. And they say, "Where is פה ושם? Where is here and there?" I say, "שם ופה." There and here. They hear that. The iceberg, left.
They
no
knew right
barriers.
away. They knew
We
you
can
were in the
talk
right
with
place.
you. You can talk to you. It's like, okay,
When you would,
let's talk. You see, they understand the hap.
yeah.
They immediately connect with the hap. And immediately I can be whatever I am. I can be Chiloinish, Miloini, Beloini. We're brothers. And here I didn't speak Yiddish. I spoke Hebrew. But they understood the hap. You know?
Yeah.
This is a guy we can talk to.
It's so funny because
this is the guy we can talk to. That's what they say, humor. I mean, it's like so funny.
I should have brought it for you, but it's funny. You know, I don't look super Haredi either. You know, I'm observant. I'm connected to the community. But what's so amazing is I used to write a humor column.
Yeah.
For Mishpacha magazine, for the Yeshiva World.
Yeah.
And I came in, and I remember my first meeting, I wasn't dressed. I was wearing, you know, like nice jeans, a button-down shirt, a jacket. But they loved it because once they see you can chap the knetch, that's the whole thing.
That's it.
That
Like, I love it. You know, it's like, you know, the Gerers.
Yeah.
One of the takunas, one of the ordinances is that a husband does not call his wife by name.
Yeah.
So if they have children already, they call her Ima.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they say psst, psst. You want to call her. They don't say. So I am meeting a girl for the first time. I say, "Is it true that the man cannot call his wife by name?" She said, "We are Polish, we are Mishugoyim." I said to him, "And what is your wife's name, by the way?" And I love it. He takes her telephone, says, "Wait a minute, wait a second, let me call her up and ask her what's her name." I loved it. You see, humor.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a normal person will not say it to you. Of course, my wife is Sarah or whatever it is. You know, Joanne. You know, let me wait a second. Let me call her up. I'll ask her. They married already for 20 years, so it's like, let me call her up.
You spend a lot of time in the scene where
that is a Jewish humor. You know.
Yeah.
Yes.
You spend a lot of time in a scene where you're with secular Jews or people who are not Jewish at all. What do you think their misconception, their misunderstanding of the Haredi world is?
They think that everyone in the Haredi world is like the Knesset member Gafni or Goldknopf, you know, who, when they speak in public, they are making big Churul Hashem, you know, in my view. That's what they think the Haredim are. They think the Haredim are bitter, schwarze Elementen, you know, it's like, as you say in Yiddish, really horrible people who rape their spouses and pedophiles. They are all into money. They are violent. They are extremists. Altogether. Either money, steal. That's the way to think about them. And stink. They don't take showers. That's what I think. It's like.
And for you, when you left, you know, it feels like you were like a, you know, you weren't Haredi anymore, but you were like, you didn't join the non-Orthodox community. You didn't become modern Orthodox. You didn't become, do you affiliate Reform, Conservative? Why didn't any of the non-Orthodox movements pull you in?
again, this, I might be non-religious, but what I discovered during my stay in Mea Shearim, that Haredi I was and Haredi I am. I didn't change. My soul is Haredish. Sie wird nicht gut, nicht helfen. I am like them. I am like them. If they fall on the street, I'll stop everything to help them. If I fall on the street, they'll stop everything to help me. We are brothers and sisters. There is something that unites us. And that does not exist in the reform movements, it does not exist in all other movements. You know, that kind of understanding, that kind of depth. I mean, these are people who are always in the spiritual world, forever. These are people who believe everything has a reason. These are people who will do everything for you.
Did you feel at
There is no poor family in Mea Shearim that on Friday night, late Shabbos, will not have the table full with spreads and fish and chicken and meat, was the willst. Alles on the table, with chocolate babka, whatever it is. If they cannot afford it, no problem. The people in the community know they cannot afford it, and Friday in the middle of the night, somebody will pack some boxes or whatever it is next to the door, so they don't even see who brought it, and then you sit and you have everything. Where do you have this behavior?
Did you find yourself at some point, you know, you're not just a journalist, and you weren't, let's say, typically like choser b'tshuva. You didn't say, okay, now I'm going to be a real Haredi. But did you feel at times like, well, you know, what they call the pintel yid, that inner, that almost that your sense of faith was being reawakened over this year?
I wouldn't say sense of faith. I say, early on, I asked when I saw that people really accepted me and welcomed my wife and me. I asked one of them, I said, why are you embracing us? Why? Why? I didn't expect it at all. And the answer was, when you speak to us in Yiddish, it's not you talking to us, it's your grandpa talking to our grandparents. I had goosebumps. Because what it said, basically, is you and us, we are the same family. No matter what you believe, what you do, mitzvahs, no mitzvahs, tzioini, not tzioini, whatever you are, you and us are connected.
We're the same family.
We are
Our
the same
grandparents
family.
are
Our
still...
grandparents, same family. And them know all my grandparents.
And that moved you?
Of course. And they know all my grandparents were. You know, they know. You'll not see somebody in Mea Akiva talk like this. You're not something, you know, they might say because you're Yehudi, because you are Jewish, you know. But this is more than that.
It's mishpucha.
It's a mishpucha. It's not because you are a Jew like us. It's your mishpucha. We verstehen uns. We understand each other. It's a very different world.
What do you think gave you the capacity? You're very positive and you're very warm. Why aren't you more cynical? Why aren't you more angry?
First of all, it's not going to help me if I'm angry. You know how many people are angry? They are all in Besakvuros, yes. They are all in the cemetery. So what's the point of being angry? I mean, number one. And number two, this is the nature of the people. You know, there are people who see everything, they are forbidden.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it is.
Bitter.
They are bitter. Thank God I'm not like that.
Were you ever... never?
I am not.
When you first left...
Even if I go to I can sit, le'avdil. I interviewed the leader of the Nazi party in Hamburg. Nobody had an access to him. I had. I spent a long time with him. We were laughing the whole time, trading jokes. Of course, he thought I am a Nazi, but but it's like, first of all, you cannot interview a person if you are bitter about the person, and you have to divide between what the people think and who they are. There are people in the world who might think exactly like me, and I can't stand them. I don't want to be in their presence because their other traits, you know, are so terrible. There are people who think opposite from what I think, but the traits are similar, so I connect with them. So by the end of the day, as a journalist, you have to connect with the people. Wherever you are, you have to connect with the people. You have to understand them. You have to understand what they are. You know, I spend now, because they asked me in the paper in Germany, decide to write a little bit about the pro-Palestinian demonstrations here in New York.
Yeah.
So we went to a few places. One of the places we went was in Harlem.
In Columbia?
Park, Marcy Park, whatever it's called. I don't remember whatever it's called.
Pro-Palestinian
Pro-Palestinian. No. And we talked to the people. I mean, I had a great time. I found out they weiß nicht, was ist. They don't know what you're talking about.
They don't know anything.
They know nothing. They know nothing. They really know nothing. Palestine was funded centuries ago. I mean, it's like, they have nothing. Palestine was never funded. But they have nothing. I mean, it's like, whatever they say, you know, it's like, and we started it, Herzl, you heard of him? I said, no, I didn't hear. Who was he? He was a warrior. Really? Wow. He was a strong man. I'm like a total idiot. I asked the most stupid questions. And then I realized, they weiß nicht, gar nicht. They know nothing.
What do you think is drawing them to it, though? You know, you were there October 7th. What's drawing, you know, in America, a lot of them are Jewish. What draws them to that?
I'll give you an example. You have there a guy who is Jewish, Aaron, and he's a very strongly anti-Zionist, and he's a climate activist.
Yeah.
And they say that the climate change leads to fascism. Don't ask me.
Okay.
And they explain, and he explains why they are against the state of Israel. In 1930s or 1940s it changes. In the land of Palestine, verstehst du? In the land of Palestine, there were many swamps. And swamps are very good for the environment.
This is what this...
Yeah. And the nice people who lived around it, Palestinians, were preserving the swamps in order to improve the world, the ecosystem of the environment. Then the Zionists came.
They ruined the...
Who got a credit of $1 trillion from Citibank. And they dried the swamps. Verstehst du?
Yeah.
That shows you the amazing brutality of the Jews. They dried the swamps. Have you been in swamps? So the mosquitoes all over there. It's like the major diseases. But the nice Palestinians preserved it. And the Jews, armed with $1 trillion from Citibank.
And you just sit and listen.
Brought in Australian company. I said, wow, it's very interesting. I like it. Can you give me the source for it? Because I really want to publish it. And I'm saying to myself,
yeah.
And that's what you realize all of a sudden, is that in almost every demonstration against Israel, including those people who praise Hamas and say that what happened in October 7 is amazingly good, dig deep, and there is a Jew there who is sitting in the engine and firing it.
Why?
Self-hatred. We Jews are the most crunk people in the world. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, why? It's 2,000 years of not having your own country, 2,000 years of being told that you are ugly, that you have a big nose, that your hair is curly, you know, that whatever it is, that you are smarter only for the way because you can steal money from non-Jews, that you stink. The same thing people think about Haredim. For 2,000 years you learn it. I mean, generation after generation. Some Jews along the times, it rubs off on them. They believe in it. They believe in it.
I want to ask you a question about Zionism. You love the state of Israel. You love the Jewish people. Zionism is a secular movement. You spend your time as a secular Jew. Do you think Zionism will be able to survive without the familial Haredi mentality of the kind of the religious
First of all,
warmth?
Zionism, you can call it secular movement.
Yeah.
But if you went to yeshiva, if you study the Bible, I'm sorry to tell you that, break the news to you, and sometimes they have to break the news to many Haredim, it's all about Israel. I mean, what is it about? New York? What is it about? Washington, D.C.? Gateshead? Lakewood? Manchester? London? Antwerp? No. Everything is about Eretz Israel. The whole Yiddishkeit, the whole Bible, from beginning to end, is about Israel.
But there are parts of Israel that are so secularized.
Just a second.
Yeah.
So first of all, for the Haredim to be anti-Israel is a joke. I say, every time when I go to a shul, to Haredi shul or Orthodox shul, and I see people praying there, bring us to Zion, oh God, bring us to Zion. I say, Ribono Shel Olam, aren't you tired of saying it? You think God is an idiot? If you want to go to Israel, you know how to do that. Buy a ticket, halal, one way. It's very easy. It's very, very easy. You know, it's like the poor guy who says, Ribono Shel Olam, how come you help me? And you don't, so many people win the lottery and make me win the lottery. Why didn't you make me win the lottery? And Ribono Shel Olam answering, did you buy the ticket? If you buy a ticket, whatever. It's the same thing, but many religious Jews, we are, and I include myself because I don't live in Israel also, we are basically hypocritical. We talk about Israel, we talk about this, and they are praying 3 times a day, you know, bring us to Israel, and they will not go on the plane. I mean, it's a gelächter. When I talk to them, when I interview, why don't you go to Israel? So the mother will say, I cannot, I would love to, but I have my children there. I cannot, otherwise I'd go to Israel. So I go to the children, say, why don't you go to Israel? Can we? Our mother is here. I mean, it's like, they make no sense. So that's one thing. And the other things, there are 2 things. There's the Haredi world, the Orthodox world that keeps the Jewish studies, and there's the political element. You know, the political element, you know, we would better be without it. I advise to get all these Orthodox political parties out of the Knesset. Politics is that's what I admire. One of the few things I admire in America. You know, separation of church and state. You know, it has nothing to do with water. I know people try to bring it back, but it works. It works very well. I mean, America is more religious than many other countries in the world because you don't force it. It's not part of the political system. So, could Israel, as a secular state without any source for Judaism, survive? Very badly. Very badly. Because what's the difference? What's the point of being here? Yeah. You know, you need the Jewish thing. Otherwise, it's no culture, so what are you doing here? So Israel needs, I think, the Orthodox world. The Orthodox world brings a lot to Israel. You know, the fact that you can go to Mea Shearim and see it. You know, how your grandfather were, you know. The fact that you go to shul, it's like 10,000 shuls on every corner. So that's a lot because this is our cultural background. But I wish it stayed there and didn't get move into the Knesset. We don't need it in the Knesset. We don't need that.
You've been incredibly generous with your time. I have really one question because this is a series. I read your book. And it's interesting. You wouldn't think you turn to Tuvia Tenenbom to think about Teshuvah. But this is a year of Teshuvah to me because this is a year where I think everybody needs to stretch a little farther for Avos Yisrael. Everybody needs to stretch a little bit more to try to connect to some aspect of Yiddishkeit and Jews who are outside of their comfort zone. And every Jew has the other Jew. Every Jew has the Jew that... What's your advice? After you spent a year and a half in Mea Shearim, you learned how to love, how to see a community with such sweet eyes, with such uplifting eyes, not to knock, not to marginalize, to humanize, to uplift. And it's those beautiful story. What would your advice be to a Jew who doesn't have the background you? They're not able to move into Mea Shearim. They don't know the language. How do you learn to love Yidden? How do you learn to love the Yidden who are different than you?
It's realizing the history of the Jews. The first Beis Hamikdash, second Beis Hamikdash, forget Beis Hamikdash. The first time Israel, the Jews control Israel, and the second time the Jews control Israel. It's hard to do it Beis Hamikdash because Beis Hamikdash was also even the Jews did not control Israel. We as Jews survived in controlling the country, the land, maximum 70 plus years. That was the first two times we had the state of Israel. And now we are into the 70s, the third Jewish sovereignty, in Israel. And we are approaching, we are over 75, 76 years, whatever it is. And it looks like we are now on a journey to destroy the country. The hatred between the camps is frightening. There are no leaders to pick these people up. There are no leaders. I mean, this country will not survive if this continues. Being flanked with a world that hates you. I mean, can you believe it? It's much easier for a Jew now to walk on the streets of Berlin than on the streets of New York. It's amazing what happens, what's going on. We are surrounded by anti-Semitism, and the state of Israel is surrounded by all hurdles and problems that can be from the outside world. If everybody in the world, or most people, the most powerful people are coming to crush Israel, and Israel, the egg, is breaking at the seams, Israel will not survive. If this is what you want, then continue be who you are and hate. It will really get you there. But you have to remember one thing. If the state of Israel expires, is destroyed, all Judaism will be destroyed. Because that will be much more damaging than any Holocaust. The psychology of all these things will basically break the Jewish world. So if you really care about the Jewish world, hold on and hold off to your hatred, because otherwise it's not going to happen. And don't be afraid to say I was wrong. If you study the Bible, even God said at one point, he regretted for creating man. I made a mistake. If God can say it, can't you say it? So, and this is what you can learn from the Bible. You don't have to believe in it, but you have to see. According to the Bible, God created the world. You believe it or not, it doesn't matter. And he who created the world comes one day and says, I made a mistake. He can do that, and you cannot. And look at history, how we lost the land. And look what happens now. We are on the way to lose Israel. That's logically, mathematically, theologically, everything that has reasoning in it points to a future where Israel would be decimated. If you don't want it to happen, you have to stop. You have to stop your hatred. You have to stop being selfish. And we have to be a little bit more humble and a little bit more welcoming. Because if that does not happen, nothing will happen. And that's all I can say. I mean, you see it. I mean, it's like...
Reb Tuvia, I cannot thank you enough. It's been such a joy and a privilege sitting with you.
Thank you for having me.
I always wrap up my interviews with more quick, rapid-fire questions. We're going to do quick.
Okay.
I always ask a book recommendation. We're going to, of course, recommend your own, Careful Beauties Ahead, My Year with the Ultra-Orthodox, and you have all these other books. We're going to link to all of them.
Yeah.
But what's a book that helped you love other Jews?
The books that help me love other Jews, I don't think it's the Bible.
The Torah.
The Torah. Can you believe it? Everybody is using the Torah against, to split, but actually it's all there to love.
I love it. My next question, if somebody gave you a great deal of money, as much as you needed, to take a sabbatical to go back to school and get a PhD, what would the subject of your dissertation be? What would you want to study now?
Jewish philosophy.
Jewish philosophy? Is there a specific Jewish philosopher you'd want to study?
Maimonides.
Maimonides.
I think he was brilliant.
Okay. Also the Ishbitzer. You got to bring that
course
back.
Of course the Ishbitzer. There's no question about it.
And my final question, I'm always curious about people's sleep schedules. What time do you go to sleep at night and what time do you wake up in the morning?
I go to sleep 3 o'clock and I wake up 7, 8.
It's not so much sleep.
No.
Reb Tuvia, I cannot thank you enough for spending time speaking with me today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
This was a